is Ross Dellenger. He's with Sports Illustrated. You're probably tired. You've had a long weekend. What was you were in Knoxville for the game with Alabama over the weekend? Just what was it like? Just tell us what it felt like to be in Knoxville this weekend.
Yeah, it was incredible. I've been a sports writer for 17 years. I've obviously seen a lot of field stormings and seen great wins and championships and all that. I'm not sure that I've seen anything quite like what I saw in Knoxville post game. It was chilling in a good way. It was that many people, on the field in the same color, chanting the same things, feeling the same things, smoking cigars, carrying out goalposts. It was wild, and it was a really memorable experience. And then it kind of overshadowed the game, which itself was was pretty incredible. Like two Heisman worthy quarterbacks kind of duking it out. So the overall experience was it was pretty awesome.
Why do you think, what made that field storming or that celebration stand out, or why do you feel like there was maybe the pent up celebration inside the Tennessee fans that you saw? What made this one different?
Well, 15 years, 15 years of losing, that'll do that to you. I think it was a combination of things. And it was one, the 15 years of losing to Alabama. Two, the fact that less than 2 years ago, this program was at the bottom of college football. It was under investigation. It didn't have an athletic director. It had just fired a third straight coach. It was at the bottom. And then number three was being the king, right? Like I think it took like all three of those things for it to be this kind of volcanic eruption of energy and excitement and spewing orange everywhere is what it was. It was pretty crazy. So I think it took all those three things, them being so badly for so long against Alabama, and then just 21 months ago, being toward the bottom of college football, and then Nick Saban being the guy they beat.
Oh, do we lose Ross? Oh, wait, there you go. I thought you froze on me. I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm here.
No, well, so Tennessee gets it a little bit easier this week. They play Tennessee Martin. Maybe not. They might lose to Tennessee Martin. I don't know. You were from Martin. I heard you saying that earlier. But then after that, they've got Kentucky, Georgia. They close out with South Carolina, Vanderbilt. Are you a believer? Are they a playoff team based on what you've seen, especially most recently?
Well, offensively, certainly they are. I think they've probably got some work to do on the defensive side of the ball. Alabama exploited some of that in the secondary. I think Tennessee has one of the worst pass defenses in the country. Now, I think part of that is they've been up so much in games that teams are trying to catch up and they're passing the ball a lot. So I think that's probably part of it. But offensively, they're incredible. Hendon Hooker certainly should be at the top or the top couple of any Heisman conversation. And they've got, pretty good set of receivers too. He's got a pretty good crew of receivers as well. I think the defense has to improve. And I don't, the way they're currently playing, I would say that the defense would hold them back from beating a team like Georgia at Georgia, and maybe even beating Alabama again on a neutral field. So they've got to get better there.
Yeah, I wanted to run through you. Obviously, your role as a national college football reporter for SI, you kind of run the gamut with what you cover. And so, I was looking at some of your other recent headlines, and one of them that jumped out at me that's obviously relevant here is just the start that Clemson's had and why they stand alone among the unbeatens is the headline on it. They were just Cheez-It Bowl champs last year here, so they're getting the Orlando bump, we like to think. But in any case, what makes Clemson stand alone for you in that sense?
Yeah, you're right. That's it. When us poll voters go to vote, we think about now they won that Cheez-It Bowl, didn't they? Yeah. No, but I think for me, I think everybody's undervaluing Clemson a little bit. They've been my number one for 2 or 3 weeks. I think they've got the best 2 wins of anybody in the country. Like nobody has the 2 wins, not single individual wins, because obviously beating Alabama is pretty significant, but 2 wins together. And that's NC State and that's Wake Forest. As crazy as that sounds, those two teams are they're both pretty good teams. Wake Forest, I think, back in the top 10. And if NC State had Devin Leary, and we have to remember that Clemson beat an NC State team with Devin Leary, which we won't see again. Obviously, Devin Leary's out for the year, but I think Clemson has two wins that stack up with anybody's 2 wins. Now, I think there are teams that aren't far away from that as far as quality of opponents and scheduling. Tennessee's got 2 good wins as well. Obviously, Alabama, honestly, beating LSU the way they did on the road is a pretty good win as well. So I think, I think the Tigers have good quality wins, and they're going to get another one potentially this weekend. There's a chance to get another one when undefeated Syracuse comes in. Speaking of teams that don't have good wins, Syracuse is I think their schedule rank right now is 118th. So if you're wondering why they're probably not high enough or as high in the polls for being 6-0, that would probably be a reason. But they'll get a test this weekend for sure. We'll know a lot about Syracuse this weekend.
Go Orange. One of the other things you've written about recently is the potential change in the way that they're going to not have divisions in the Big 12 for the next couple of years going forward. And as some of these new teams join the league and other teams exit the league, I'm curious your thoughts on the impact that might have on a divisionless Big 12, and then your thoughts on just the conference going forward and kind of how it's shaping up.
Well, for the Big 12, it's not that big of a change, because that's where they've been. They haven't had divisions. Now for everybody else, every other conference is kind of exploring or has already moved to that model, divisionless model already. We saw the ACC move to that. I think the SEC has basically publicly came out and said they won't have divisions. They haven't decided on the number of conference games yet, going from 8 to maybe 9, but they're not going to have divisions. I think the Big 10 ultimately is not going to have divisions, and all of that is all of that is because of the college football playoff and wanting to get your 2 best teams playing in your championship game, and wanting to get maybe as many teams as you can in the college football playoff, the new expanded playoff that's coming. So it's all geared to that. I think as far as the Big 12 is concerned, it'll obviously be interesting, being that Texas and Oklahoma are going to be at least 1 year, maybe 2 years in this new model, in this 14-team divisionless kind of model, where in the 2-year format, at least the one they plan to adopt later this week, in the 2-year format in 2023 and 2024, each team would play every other team at least once. So you will have Texas playing Cincinnati in Houston. You might have a game with the Longhorns traveling to Houston for a conference game, which would be interesting and would be a nice way for the Big 12 to give Texas a parting goodbye gift, like you would leave poop on somebody's door stoop. That would probably be how that would go over in Austin. So that would be interesting. Oklahoma and Cincinnati, Oklahoma and UCF. But you'll have all those games at least 1 year, and it sure seems like you're going to have those games for at least 2 years, because right now it seems like Texas and Oklahoma, are not going to leave early, which everybody kind of assumed that would happen, and right now that's not happening. They just approved this 2-year model with Texas and Oklahoma, and everybody I talked to within the Big 12 has talked about how they are they're staying, and there's not been any really serious conversation with the schools and negotiation about them leaving early. It could happen. It could happen next year. It could happen as late as next year, but right now it doesn't seem that way.
Looking ahead at 12-team playoff down the road, I know that's something you've covered extensively as well, and I know a lot of folks are curious around here what that means for games like the Citrus Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl, and how that kind of factors in. And, there's also a lot of momentum to have on-campus games as part of this 12-team playoff. And we don't know exactly what that will look like yet. But as those pieces sort of come together, what do you imagine the 12-team playoff looks like, and what does it mean for bowls like this one?
Well, I think that first of all, there's a big meeting this week, October 20th, so on Thursday in Dallas, and I'll be there. I kind of had thought that this meeting would produce actual results and news, either them saying, hey, we're going to expand in 2024, or hey, we're not, and we're going to expand maybe in 2025 now. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. Still possible, I guess. So we'll see. It sure looks like there's confidence and momentum for early expansion in 24, and if not 24, 25, maybe. So I think it'll look like the model. I don't think there are going to be any significant changes. I mean, first round will be at home, second round or quarterfinals and semis will be in the rotation of the 6 bowls. And because those 6 bowls will be the New Year's 6, you really won't have any different teams playing in other bowls. Like, it's not like there's some domino effect and you're going to have, if you had the 3rd ranked, American team or Big 12 team, in a lower bowl or something versus, it's not like you're going to have the 5th ranked team. I don't think there's going to be a lot of droppage because the New Year's 6 rotation is going to be the same quarter and semi rotation. So I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of drop. As somebody told me, there's still going to be the 12 teams. There's 12 teams as part of like the New Year's 6 CFP right now, and there's still going to be 12 teams. So I don't think the Bulls should see really a whole lot of drop in their teams. I think the impact will be on players. And one, players want to get paid in the NIL era. So are Bulls going to pay players, or is the school collective going to pay players to play in the bowl with some kind of NIL bonus? That's certainly something that's been bantering around, because if they don't get paid, they might not play. We've seen that happen quite a bit. We've seen it happen in big games, Ohio State, Rose Bowl, for instance. And then the number two big impact, I think, here is just we see it now where the focus and the attention is on the CFP and not as much on the bowls, the 4 teams. And now we're going to have 12 teams. So the CFP is going to grow and the attention is going to grow on it. And I think the focus is more going to grow on it. And that's unfortunate for the other bowls. It is. And I'm kind of a traditionalist. So I do like the bowls, and I do like, having 3 weeks of bowls leading up to this thing or around this college football playoff. But I think the attention is going to wind even more on them, unfortunately. And I think players playing in the game, right, is a big question mark.
All right. With that, I'll let you go. Unless you've got any other big news you're expecting to break in Dallas that you want to let us know about.
I don't think so. I hope not. Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Thank you again, Ross Dellenger, Sports Illustrated, for joining us this morning.